Welcome to AMIcast, podcast about Amiga computers. I'm your host, Krzysztof Radzikowski, but call me Krzysztof or Radzik. Hello and welcome in episode 19 of AMIcast, and today's guest is Hans, the guy that is creating or providing 3D modern graphic cards for Amiga in software way, of course. So, hello Hans, how are you?
Hi.
Okay. So, you are living in New Zealand, yeah? So, I think the Amiga there is not popular, or wasn't, yeah?
It was fairly popular. I guess late 1980s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But disappeared pretty quickly after Commodore went bankrupt.
Okay. So how you started with your Amiga? You started before this bedtime or after? And
well, started with a Commodore 64 as a kid, actually. And then eventually people started getting Amigas here. And moved on to that. So I've been using them a while. I had an Amiga 600 for a bit and an Amiga 1200.
Okay. And you had, because a lot of guys had the break from Amiga in something like 2000 to 2000 something, when. Yeah, for example, me, when I go to university or when Amiga was really weak with internet connections and this stuff. So you had the always Amiga in your desk, or?
Yeah, I did. The university usually had good labs filled with computers for the stuff I couldn't use the Amiga for.
Okay, good. So why you started Amiga NG? Because this is, as I know and as I checked your webpage, and you are quite well known here, you are more in Amiga OS 4 or in Amiga NG than classic Amiga.
Yeah, after I started using Amiga OS 4, it really wasn't an option to move back. Kind of left my Amiga 1200 behind when I moved up to Canada to study at the university there. Got an A1 XE over there and haven't switched back since. You get used to the extra power.
Of course. So this is when you compare even the PowerPC classic Amiga is nothing to any Amiga 1 or more or less.
Yeah.
Okay, so what, if I can ask, what you are doing apart from Amiga? So you are as well developer or something, because you are making on Amiga OS 4 very important thing, in my opinion. So this comes from your professional life, or this is hobby only?
I'm contracted by Aon at the moment, so it is taking up a good chunk of my time, the driver development.
Okay, so this is connected, I think, with this that Aon took or bought the Radeon drivers. Yeah, this was the release of something from Aon webpage.
I'm not sure what you're talking about exactly.
Because the Aon took over the Radeon HD drivers, the developing or something like this. So this is connected with that, I think, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I think it's good. So okay, so maybe let's go to the most important part. how you started with these drivers for modern graphic boards. Yeah?
Okay, I started that, I think in 2008. That was when AMD started releasing the documentation. And I had a look at the documentation. I had a look at some of the driver code they were releasing for Linux and thought, okay, I should be able to do that if I can find a graphics card that's not too expensive. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I managed to find a graphics card, plugged it into my A1XE, and just started working away with a proof of concept program. And once I got that up and running, that's when I contacted Hyperion to get the documentation to write a proper driver.
Okay.
And it's sort of just grown from there.
But at the end of all, this is, I think, not so easy. So you must have some, I don't know, computer with Linux that you can check it or compare it, or you can all do on Amiga only.
I almost never use Linux. Mm-hmm. This development's been done pretty much all on the Amiga.
Okay, very nice. So the natural question is, which tools do you use, or what is the base for this development?
You'd be surprised how little. It's basically I'm just using GCC and the Amiga OS SDK, plus the developer, the header files and developer stuff from Hyperion. Mm-hmm. Apart from that, I don't really have any special tools.
Okay, impressive, because a lot of guys that say that this is good to have some, I don't know, cross-compile machine, but yeah, you are.
I've always worked compiling it directly on the Amiga itself.
Okay, and with this, I think this is very important question. So you should have the most powerful Amiga ever. So X5000, I think, because it's going everything faster when you're compiling stuff.
I have an X1000.
Okay, so quite powerful.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe the question like this, maybe first, what do you think about your Amiga 1 and this upcoming, because nobody can buy for now, and we are talking in November, so I hope the X5000 will be available to buy in December, this means this year. What do you think about this quite expensive computer? And the X1000 was expensive as well, because a lot of guys are complaining about the price.
Yeah, I can understand it is expensive. I got the X1000 even though it was expensive. I decided I don't need to buy every single machine, so I decided not to do the X5000. It still looks like a good machine though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's quite good.
It's a nice machine. It's in some areas it's faster than the X1000.
Okay. So the other question is from other side. So do you have tested or do you have the access to Tabor? So this low budget Amiga maybe 1, and yeah, it will be Amiga 1. So what do you think about this, or have you tried? Somehow?
Yeah, I've got one of those. I haven't done much with it yet. So sort of, plugged it in, switched it on, started it up a little bit. Mm-hmm. The development situation is, it's still a work in progress. Not the board itself, but the operating system to run on it.
Put to Workbench, as I heard.
I like the size of it. It's a nice small board. Not too expensive either.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's what I like about it.
And from your point of view, the question is that Tabor will be enough or will have enough power with the modern graphic board to be something like daily used machine, or is too weak?
I think it should be enough. We'll have to wait and see though. But I think when Linux is running on it seems to be working all right. So yeah, I think it should be strong, powerful enough.
Okay. So when we are talking about the hardware, what do you think about FPGA technology? Because for now, at the end of all, in my Amiga world, the most popular machine is always classic. And now the hottest stuff in Amiga world, it looks like, is Vampire, of course. So have you even tried maybe in AmiOS or something? Have you seen it? And what do you think about this from the point of view of modern developer or developer for modern operating system like AmigaOS 4?
Yeah, at AmiWest I did get to see the Vampire board running, and it was impressive to see. It was inside an Amiga 500, and I've never seen an Amiga 500 run that quickly and be able to do that much. Like I'm completely working on AmigaOS 4 stuff, so I'm unlikely to really get into that. It runs 68K in code, not PowerPC.
Yep.
But it's an impressive achievement what they've done, and I reckon it looks cool.
Okay, and with the current situation of developers in Amiga world, do you think the Vampire can get some exclusive stuff? Because as I see from my situation, the developing side of Amiga Classic is not so good. The hardware side, we have a lot of new options, turbo boards and so on. On Amiga NG side, the developer staff or the guys, they are bigger. The community is bigger, but at the end of all, it's not so big. So, yeah. In general, what do you think about the developing for Amiga and how we can find the new developers?
Well, for the classic Amiga, I'm not quite sure, really. It's really a matter of if developers enjoy it, they'll come.
Of course, for fun.
Yeah. And there is something neat about using the old machines.
Yep.
With the Amiga NG, I'm really hoping that now that we've got Warp 3D Nova and OpenGLES, so modern shader-based graphics, that it'll get more people enthusiastic and creating stuff. Okay.
And how we can find these guys, because the Amiga NG and Amiga in general is not so popular. It's a lot of guys younger than Amiga user, more or less, because the Amiga users are quite old now. They don't know about Amiga anything, or they don't know what is it. So do you think we can find somehow hobbyist developers, like for example Raspberry Pi can find some guys that they are making the different operating system and so on?
I think so. When I was at AmiWest, one thing I was surprised by was how many people who work at, big technology companies, people from IBM and AMD and others, that they were there. So they're working in the tech industry and they still like the Amiga. And I've also heard that some younger people are actually getting into the classic Amiga as a retro machine. So I think it is possible.
Okay. I hope you have right. Okay. So my standard question, I think, is about the web browsers, because of course your work is very important and it gives us the modern technology. But for me as well, important is the web browser that is now a little bit better. I talk about Odyssey because it's most popular on Amiga NG platform.
Yeah.
But at the end of all, is about 2 years or 3 years without update or behind the current internet standards. So what do you think it can be, from developer point of view, can be this changed, or maybe Aeon could sponsor somebody, or we should make a bounty? Because in my opinion, the Amiga NG must it is must to have the modern web browser. In I don't know, 1 year, every 1 year comes new version or something, even paid, because it could be bad that you cannot use internet on computer for so many euros or dollars or whatever.
Odyssey's it's still working fairly well. Most of the websites that I go to seem to be all right. But in terms of getting the development moving again, bounties could be an option. It's really a matter of, we need someone who can deal with the Unix or the Linux build systems, and who wants to take it on. And I'm not quite sure who that would be.
Yeah. Because as I know, the main problem of Odyssey, for example, is that the WebKit is not supporting PowerPC anymore. Yeah, so it's hard to make an update. And even I asked the WebKit developers about the PowerPC, and they said the PowerPC is dead and they don't care. So this is in general. What do you think now about the PowerPC? Because for example, for me, it looks like that X5000 could be the latest PowerPC desktop computer in general.
Yeah, I'm sort of taking a wait and see on that. PowerPC 64-bit version seems to still be going, but for example, IBM and Debian have dropped the big Endian distribution. Mm-hmm. They're still using PowerPC, but they've switched to Little Endian mode.
Okay.
So as far as IBM supercomputers and embedded systems and stuff, it's still going. It's really the big Endian mode they've dropped.
Okay, so this means. This is, I think, at the end of all, not so good for us as well, because
we're on big Endian mode, which poses a difficulty for us. I wish we could switch to Little Endian mode as well, because it would make my driver development a lot easier.
Of course, yeah, because every documentation and whatever from AMD, it is. As more or less prepared for Intel and so on.
AMD switched to Little Endian mode, Little Endian only, from the Southern Island series, so the Radeon HD 7000 series on. Mm-hmm. Before that, they were bi-Endian. So it just makes the driver. It's not impossible. It just makes the driver development more difficult, because you have to deal with the Endianness conversion.
Okay, and do you think this is possible for AmigaOS to switch? Because, as I understand, I'm not a developer, but when I talk with the guys, they always say that when we want to multi-core support or memory protection, we will break the compatibility with the old Amiga operating system or even old software from PowerPC, not old but not updated. So it will not happen something like this, that when we switch, then we have nothing to run on the operating system.
Yeah, I've talked to a few other people, and we sort of It would be a huge task. So I don't see it happening anytime soon. And fortunately for us, we should still have a supply of motherboards and chips for at least for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't answer that question because I really don't know.
Okay. So maybe so how much time do you use? I don't know, weekly, every day to develop for example, the drivers for Radeon, So or in general the Warp Nova, and because with Warp Nova is also working in Daytona, so he made this warper from OpenGLES, I think this is something like that.
Yeah, that's his book.
So the time-consuming stuff, how much time do you need, and how you find the time or something?
I usually spend roughly half the week working on it. And then the other half of the week is my own other stuff. So I spend a good chunk of time on it every week. And I've been at Warp 3D Nova for over a year now. And still going.
Yeah, but it's more or less is available and working, and we have the, I think, first game, is AmiCraft, yeah?
AmiCraft, yeah.
Yeah. So do you think in the next year, because we are now in November, so the next year is in 1.5 months, we'll have more games for Amiga OS in this with shaders technology?
I know there are some things being worked on. I don't know exactly what, so I can't tell you what's coming or when it'll be released.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, there are a few people working on things.
Okay, so this means do you have the contact with the other developers that they are making the games and the ports and for example with Daytona and how it looks from the team working here?
Yeah. I periodically hear from people, particularly if they've discovered something they think is a bug, they'll send the details through to me.
Mm-hmm.
Which is good, so then I can fix it. I hear from them from time to time. Okay,
and with the Hyperion and how looks the contact, because as I heard and even as I tried, they are not so easy to reach, and so what I think is really bad, they don't put any notes on information on web page, so you don't know the system is already dead or it's not dead. Now after AmiOS we now know more, but 1 year without zero information, this is not so good. So from the developer point of view and the active developer so close to the system, this work together is working.
The development keeps on going. You're right. They don't say much publicly, which I think they should do more of. But behind the scenes, the developers are still talking to each other and still working away.
Okay. And maybe do you know, because for me it's very hard to contact someone from Hyperion to make an interview, it is possible to be a beta tester for AmigaOS or something, or are you as well beta tester, because when you are doing this stuff it's somehow connected?
Yeah. Sorry, you'd have to, I don't know if they're looking for new beta testers at the moment, but you'd have to use the contact on their website. That's pretty much the only way.
Okay, and so now for maybe another question connected with Aeon, and can you say how it started this work together with Aeon? Because at the end of all, and about Aeon, the Trevor I think is investing money in some software, in hardware, and how it looks, this connection with you, Aeon.
Well, started working with them back when the X1000 was, I guess, about to be released.
2010.
Obviously, it was important for them to have better graphics drivers. So yeah, that's when they started funding more development of the Radeon HD chip driver.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been, I've been working away at that since.
Okay, so and more or less you are, I think, pretty. This is not exactly like this, but pretty close to Trevor, because it's the same side of world.
Yeah, we're in the same city. Well, not quite. In neighboring cities, technically.
Okay.
So in the same general area.
Wow, this is impressive. Very nice, very good. So I think your connection with him, they are quite good, and yeah.
Yeah, can work well with him and Matthew.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so and can I ask you about this, about Aeon in general? Because I think at the end of all, they make a lot of good stuff, and Trevor had the better press in Amiga world than Hyperion. So the Ami store, the investing in some software, and a lot of guys say that Aeon is only one chance, that maybe the last chance for Amiga. Should buy the Hyperion. So what do you think about this Aeon and the idea of Aeon? And this is good direction that we are going with them, or could be something better, or could somebody help them in somehow in some parts?
Well, I think Aeon's doing well. They're definitely, Trevor's got a lot of business experience that he brings along. They're talking to the community well, and getting things done. In terms of the other things like, buying Hyperion and all that, I can't really comment on that.
Yeah.
That really would be up to them. I certainly wouldn't have a problem with it.
Okay.
In terms of other people helping them out, I guess people should just, if they want to create something, they should just go out and do it.
Okay, because this can be somehow as well, I think, connected with AmiStore, which I think is very good idea, because more or less is copy of iTunes or Apple Store, App Store, and this is I use everyday Mac, and I really like it that I have the App Store on my Mac, and I this is not exactly like this, but should be that I can find every app that I need only in this application, and when I have the other computer, I download only from this. I don't care about the license numbers, and so now with the AmiStore is something like this. So it will be nice when you have some more software in AmiStore, and some developers, I think, can even maybe easier make money with this, because it's as Trevor said, the AmiStore is going quite well.
Yeah, the AmiStore is doing well, and for developers, it means they don't have to set up their own website and, with an e-commerce system and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes their life easier too, I think.
Yeah, exactly.
But definitely, I definitely like to see more software repair as well, and I expect it will.
Yeah, I hope the ImageFX and Aladdin 4D will come sooner or later, and maybe now we should go more to your work, because now when I was saying Radeon 4D, this is the 3D graphic program, and maybe you know what should be, or what we need in our operating system more than your modern drivers to have the new Blender, because our Blender is lately updated, but this is at the end of all, I think, 8 years old version. It is possible to bring for Amiga some hardcore stuff like Blender and I don't know, something like this, that this is now killing up could be, yeah?
Yeah. Well, one of the things that was holding back Blender was no shader support. So now that we've got OpenGLES, hopefully that block is gone.
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, there may be some other dependencies, but I'm not too sure about. I don't know if they've updated the version of Python that they're using or something like that. I haven't looked at the Blender's dependencies in any detail.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I will try to reach the guy that is porting Blender, and then I will ask him. But from your side, at the end of all, is more or less everything ready?
I think so. I don't know if Blender can run on OpenGLES too, or if it needs some desktop OpenGL features. If so, then it would take a bit more work to get done. But I think at least the shaders are there.
Okay.
And then I can't think of any other major thing that the operating system would need.
Mm-hmm. And maybe it will be a good question now when I ask you, because more or less I know, but not maybe everybody. What is the difference between OpenGL ES? It's mobile version or lighter version?
Yeah, it's OpenGL ES is for mobile devices. I think ES stands for embedded systems. Okay. So what they've done is they've taken OpenGL and they've ditched some old legacy stuff to make it lighter and simpler. And that's why why we chose OpenGL ES, because OpenGL ES 2 is fully shader based, so you don't have to implement the old fixed pipeline stuff. So that's the major difference between the two.
Mm-hmm. But for the end user, this means we could have it can happen that we cannot port everything what we want because it's not GL, it's smaller or something.
There may be some things. I mean, the good thing is, for example, OpenGL ES doesn't support the old GL begin, GL end way of working, which is very inefficient anyway, and no decent game should be using that.
Okay.
So you'll find a lot of the games are already using mostly features that OpenGL ES has. It's just a matter of if there are some of the old additional things that the full OpenGL has, where the games use the extra features that OpenGL ES doesn't have. I don't know how many I can't tell you exactly how many games need extra features. And to be honest, usually a lot of the extra features you can get rid of.
Okay.
Someone might be using an old feature simply because their old code used it.
Okay.
Beyond that, do realize that a lot of mobile games use OpenGL ES, so there is a sizable library of things that could be ported over, I think.
Yeah, and for what we can say now, the current mobile games from the newest hardware like iPhone 7 or 6 or Samsung Galaxy S7 or something, they are looking very good. This is really very nice level, and I think for Amiga OS 4 it's great to have something like that. But could I ask you ask about the difference because between the OpenGL or GLES and this old compositing technology? What was called in before we had this your drivers and so on. So this was made with other way, yeah. And you can understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
So compositing was specifically to do. It really is all about alpha blending for 2D.
Okay.
So it's part of the graphics library. It's actually not meant for 3D graphics at all, even though they added enough features that you could use do 3D stuff with it. But yeah, it really is about alpha blending to create, to blend one image together with another one. It's the kind of thing they use. Artists use a lot when they're combining images.
But this means this is the technology at the end of all is not so useful for 3D games or this 3D live stuff. Yeah,
it's intended for 2D graphics.
Exactly. Okay.
I mean the fact that we're using it for 3D is just we're sort of. Yeah, we're using it for something that it wasn't quite designed for, but that it can do.
Mm-hmm.
So for 3D stuff, I'd say use Warp 3D. For 2D stuff, you might as well use compositing unless you want effects that it can't do.
Okay. And I think this is a lot of things that this compositing cannot do. Yeah.
Yeah, the compositing can definitely do a lot. You can achieve a lot with it, but if you want to do custom filters, anything that's got 3D, then you'd want to switch to using Warp 3D, something like Warp 3D Nova or OpenGL with shaders.
Okay, so this means every AmigaOS fan should buy the new hardware because I have the still Pegasus here, and I want to switch for the new hardware. But in the future, this is logic. The new hardware will be only supported, and this I could ask you about the graphic boards. So, do you plan, or it is possible to in the future? I don't know, in 2-3 years, when the new technology from AMD come to support this with your drivers and this whole 3D stuff on Amiga.
You mean support newer graphics cards as they come out?
Because I'm not quite now I don't look at the market. I don't know which now is new because I buy the Max and this is everything already there, so I don't care. But for Amiga, I must care.
Yeah, I mean it would be possible to support newer cards. It just takes time to do. AMD's continuing to release the documentation and driver code.
Okay. So this is.
I'm hoping they're going to be slow enough that I can keep working on adding features rather than updating to newer cards.
Of course, I think it will be like in Amiga 1X 5000. I think we should have as soon as possible second core alive, not dead, because it will give us a lot of power. I hope.
Yes.
So okay, so this is like that. So I'm happy that you have the plans that you will continue your job. And do you need some help from our community? This means, I don't know, bug reports or some young good developer or to help?
Well, it'd always be great to have another driver developer, but beyond that, I mean, if people find a bug, they should report it. And beyond that, just create stuff. Developers should, create stuff.
Okay.
Whatever they feel like make. Write software.
Okay, so I think I will ask you about my standard question about the Hollywood. For sure, you know what is it, but as we don't have so much developers, do you think the Hollywood is good option to start to do something? The problem of Hollywood, in my opinion, is that there is no good book or tutorials to learn this from the scratch. But as I heard, this is very easy language or script language to start to learn and to make something.
Yeah, it is. It's what's nice about Hollywood is that it has all of the multimedia functions built in.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't need to open libraries and do this and that before you can show something on screen. So I personally think it's a good place for people to start. It's a pity that there aren't that many tutorials for it, but I think it's a good place to start. And I've heard some people say that, well, you create bloated software and all that. And I think who really cares? If you're creating something and learning, then it's all good.
Okay, this is good. So maybe I could ask you now about the AmiOS from this year, because you were there, you made the presentation, and how was it? And like this, it is nice to be on AmiOS, or it is must have for every Amiga fan to visit to see our developers there in action?
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I think if people can go to it, they should. It's just worth getting there. You get to meet other people, see what they're doing. Whether they're working on classic stuff, AmigaOS stuff, MorphOS or AROS. You just get to chat. Yeah, get to talk to people and get to meet them. That's good.
Okay. And next year you will be there as well? Do you have such a plans, for example?
Hopefully. I can't guarantee it, but
okay.
It'd be nice to go again.
So another question, maybe this is in the next year there will be other parties in Europe. For example, in Germany, 32 years of Amiga. So, for example, something like this, it is possible to meet you there, or yeah?
Oh, that's a much longer trip.
Yeah, because this is the direction to Europe, and you go from New Zealand through the ocean, Pacific Ocean. This is
Well, yeah, you can either go via the US or you go via Asia.
Okay.
So yeah, it's always a very long trip doing that. I don't see myself doing that in the next year.
Okay.
It's a.
Yeah, I understand. This is like for the guys from Europe to go to AmiOS. It's half worlds to fly, and it's a lot of money and the time.
Yeah.
Okay, but we didn't talk about the other Amiga NG system, so I would like to ask you about, have you used MorphOS or AROS?
I used AROS briefly, tried it out briefly years and years ago. MorphOS I saw at AmiWest. I've never actually used it myself. Okay. Both of them, I'm always impressed with what other developers are doing, even if I'm too busy with AmigaOS 4 to really get into those other systems. But it's nice to see what they're doing and what they've achieved.
Of course. Yeah. This is, and it's always somewhere some good developers. But maybe the not so easy question. But do you think can we somehow be reunited in one operating system, or can we in main task work together like Odyssey? From your point of view, because from end user point of view, we are losing a lot because we have this free operating system, and the two MorphOS, AmigaOS, they are most popular. Aeros is not so popular, and between these two, it was always a fight. Now it's a little bit better. So can be something done from somehow that we can work together, or I don't know more.
I think there's scope for people. Some people have written their software for all three systems. In terms of cooperating on other things, I don't really know.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the things. I think people like the idea, but they still prefer their own systems.
It could be like this. Okay, and maybe the another theoretical question, because from MorphOS side we heard, or there is some leaks that they want to switch to AMD, I think. And do you think this is in general for AmigaOS, for MorphOS, the PowerPC system? This could be good idea and can be done because the number of developers is not so high. And the stuff to port from the PowerPC to Intel or AMD, it will be a lot of work.
I personally, obviously at some point we may have no choice, but I'd personally prefer to just stick with what we've got and improve it. Because what happens if you switch platforms, if the MorphOS team managed to pull it off, it's awesome for them. But if you switch platforms, then you're doing a lot of work. It takes a lot of time, and then what you end up with is the same system except working on different hardware. So you haven't really added more features or anything to the operating system, which is why I'd rather focus on adding capability rather than migrating from one architecture to another.
Okay, this makes sense, of course, especially for us here. So in this situation, in your eyes, the future of AmigaOS 4 will be, and the hardware will be in 5 years. We will get some new hardware, or maybe we will get this some features of AmigaOS that we need, like the second core support, or I don't know, the memory protection. I think the memory protection will make your life a lot of easier to develop something.
Well, I definitely see more features and more software turning up. Pretty sure about that. In terms of new hardware, I guess I'll just have to wait and see.
Okay, and do we need the new hardware? Because a lot of guys, and I'm in this on this side as well, that now Aeon should invest more in software, because hardware, if we'll be continue to produce like X5000 and Tabor, and it will be, I heard as well, it will be nice to bring back the SAM 460, so with, let's say this, with these three options, I think it's cover our needs for 5 years.
For now those platforms should be good.
Okay. So maybe now the more or less last question. So let's say I'm the classic user and I want to buy the Amiga 1 or AmigaOS 4 hardware. Should I choose something expensive like Amiga 1, or maybe I should buy the Tabor when it will be available? Nobody knows when, but somehow, or maybe use it 460 or because in my opinion the Pegasus is make no sense. Yeah, if you don't have the really money, then buy this, but this is old hardware.
I'd suggest buying one of the newer ones, the ones that can handle PCI Express cards. And obviously, if you want to get into AmigaOS 4 right now, then if you have the money, the X5000 is the one to go for.
Okay.
Yeah, because we don't know exactly when Tabo will be released.
Yeah, this is the very painful because like you said, it's very small, so it could be useful when you must travel somehow, and it's cheap, but always in Amiga world 2 more weeks, it's really not so nice. Okay, so I think from my side I ask you about more or less everything. Probably I could ask you more, but I'm not so good in developing stuff, so I cannot really ask so much. But we'll have the information that from your side everything will be continued, and you are one of the best developers for AmigaOS 4 here. So it's thank you for your work. It's very impressive and very important. And we need you. So to finish stuff, do you want to add something or say to somebody hello or something like this?
I think the only thing I want to say, I think she already said it, is just people should just go out and write software or create stuff with their Amiga.
Okay, good. So use your Amiga. Okay.
Use it, yeah.
So thank you very much for your time. It was a pleasure for me. And thanks again. Bye-bye.
You're welcome. It was nice talking to you.
It was AMIcast, podcast for all Amiga users.